Hi, this is Ken Bowers. Shooting a series of videos just to kind of let you know what I went through. In the first video, I discussed a little bit about finding out, that I have hepatitis C, and now where we're going from here. So, once you find out that you have hepatitis C, you're going to be referred to a gastroenterologist, a hepatologist, somebody that specializes in dealing with this type of illness. And in my case, I had a gastroenterologist, and the next test that I took was a liver function test that basically scored my liver, S1 through S4. S3 and 4 means that you have cirrhosis of the liver. S1, S2 some scarring, S1 really no visible scarring. If you're like me, taking that test, wow, was that scary. I mean, did I think about every time that I overdrank in my entire life? Yes, I did. It's a scary test to take, and if you're like me, you probably are, if you're at my website, you came back probably in S1 or S2. Well, congratulations. I mean, that means that you do not have cirrhosis of the liver, that you have a long, normal life potentially ahead of you, and that's great. Here's the bad news, is that because I was in S1, when I went to go get my medication, my insurance company denied it. They said, we're not paying for it until you're an S3 or an S4. So go pay for it on your own. And if you've looked at doing that, some medication is almost $90,000. Some medication is $55,000. It's ridiculous what they want to charge you. In essence, what they're trying to tell you, it kind of disgusts me, is that, hey, come back when you have cirrhosis of the liver, when you're going to deal with that for the rest of your life, and then we'll be happy to help you out. So, the journey of getting medication, well, because I'm in the financial world, my brain thinks in a certain way. The first thing that I did was I filed a complaint with our New Mexico Department of Insurance. I'll tell you, if you're planning on going that route, my journey was not a pleasant one. That took about 3 months of them losing documents, keeping after them, only to find out at the end I was going to get a hearing via telephone. When that hearing happened in December of 2016, so this started in June. Now we're all the way to December. I have this hearing, and I basically felt like they weren't listening to my viewpoints, that they were just going through the motions. That's exactly how I felt. And sure enough, 7 days later, I get what looked like a standard boilerplate type letters denying me of being able to get that medication. And it was then that I realized that my typical way of doing things are just not going to work here. And so that's when I started doing a lot more research. I was researching during that time too, and finding out where this medication came from. And if you've done some of that, then you know that all roads lead to India. That's if you're looking at Gilead Pharmaceuticals, who's licensed by Gilead. So the medication that they provide here in the United States, really throughout the world, Mexico and Canada, the non-generic form of this medication can cost you anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000. It's ridiculous. There are generic companies that are approved by the FDA and the World Health Organization. That would be NATCO and Hetero out of India. And so that's where what I started pursuing was finding medication from there. I will say that there's medication that is being made out of Australia and Bangladesh. I just wasn't interested in that. They are buying the chemical compounds from China, and they are producing some fairly good results on their own. I just felt more comfortable using the Indian pharmaceutical companies. When you get to that point, first of all, if you're in the United States, Canada, or Mexico, then most of your time zones are like ours. You're about 12 hours off from India. So if you want to talk to them, now you're calling them at 9 o'clock at night to reach them at 9 o'clock in the morning. I find them to be a very courteous, friendly people. But I got to tell you, the communication, I was a little concerned about that. For example, I would ask, so how long do you think the medication will take to get here? And the answer would be yes. So I knew right then and there that I was, probably going to have a difficult time, but I went ahead and paid about $1,200. And, when the medication didn't arrive after 30 days, I started really getting nervous. I found out, first of all, I had to deal with India Post. That's India's mailing service. If you've ever had to deal with them, not fun at all. And I find out from India Post that it's stuck in Mexican customs. Now, I live in the state of New Mexico in the United States. This is actually the country of Mexico, and it's stuck in customs. When I contact Mexican customs, and they will respond to you via email, so I use Google Translate, and back and forth we went. But what they told me didn't make me feel any better. They said, look, one, we can't confirm that it's even here in Mexican customs, and two, we can't confirm that you're going to get it or that we're just going to send it back. So those answers were unacceptable to me, and I considered that $1,200 as a learning expense, and I found another supplier. My second supplier, from the date that I ordered it, it was here in about 2 weeks. It was about 12 days when I had it here at my doorstep. So I was extremely happy to have the medication here. Now, here's where do you want to tell your doctor about that? Because I mentioned this a little bit in my questions and answers. I'm going to just leave that up to you. In my case, I did talk to my doctor. I did tell him that I was going to use a generic form of that medication, and he said he would be happy to treat me. By treating me, basically what you're doing is taking a series of blood tests. And so whether you're taking the 55,000, the 90,000, or the generic form of that medication, about $1,000, you're going to take the same blood tests. So I'm going to leave that up to you, whether you want to tell your doctor that you're taking a generic form or not. The reason why I'm going to leave that up to you is because there may be some doctors that just say, I won't treat you, and they may do that because of all those wonderful attorneys that would, could potentially sue that doctor, perhaps on your behalf, with results not coming out the way you wanted them to. So I'll leave that up to you, whether or not you're going to tell your doctor. The medication that I received, the generic form of Harvoni, it has a 95% cure rate. So I was really happy with my potential of getting cured. And I think in my next video, we'll talk a little bit about starting to take that medication, some of the things that I felt, and then kind of where I went from there. But like I said, I'm very happy to help you go directly to the source and get that medication, whether that is 3 bottles, which is what you need. You need 3 bottles. You need to take all 3 bottles, or whether you need 1 or 2 bottles, where to go directly to the source to get that. So I think we'll discuss that a little bit in my next video, and thanks for spending some time with me.